Business leaders are speaking out about the Supreme Court's ruling on gay marriage. Perhaps the most famous gay CEO, Apple's Tim Cook, quoted Steve Jobs on Twitter. The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that do. Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff tweeted, "Congratulations, equity for all." And Sir Richard Branson, head of the Virgin Group and a longtime supporter of gay rights, wrote, quote, "An epic day for gay rights in the U.S., a much-needed recognition for millions who have been discriminated against on the basis of who they love." Joining us now is Zack Ford. He's the editor at ThinkProgress, LGBT and advocacy and news site on gay issues. Zack, welcome to Arise Exchange. A very big day in Washington. Just give us an overview of the legal argument that won the day at the Supreme Court.
It was a pretty simple argument. Basically, our Constitution guarantees that all citizens are guaranteed due process of law. And if some citizens have the right to marry, then all citizens need to have the right to marry, which means that marriage equality is now legal in all 50 states.
I've heard that this was the most foregone conclusion of a Supreme Court ruling in decades. Did you have any doubt that the court would rule this way, and any doubt that it would be a split decision with the one conservative judge, Anthony Kennedy, siding with the liberals?
Well, Anthony Kennedy is a very conservative justice, but the exception to that has been gay rights. He wrote the ruling on Lawrence, which overturned our sodomy laws, and he wrote the decision 2 years ago in Windsor, which overturned the Defense of Marriage Act. So we were pretty optimistic that we had him on his side. We had a lot of signs from his past decisions that we were going to win. But, you know, we don't count our chickens until they're hatched, and certainly there were some fiery dissents from the other 4 justices as well.
Indeed, there was. Anthony Scalia basically saying democracy is over. But let's get past this. This is the law of the land in all 50 states right now. What is the general economic impact of today's decision, if there is an immediate economic impact?
Well, you know, we've tracked as marriage equality has creeped into states over the past couple of years that when it arrives, it immediately has a boon there because there's all of these different industries that provide services to weddings and tourism when people host their weddings there. And so we'll see that effect in the 13 states that now have same-sex marriage that didn't before today. But I think the bigger impact is probably how this affects same-sex families, right? Couples who are raising kids in states where they're not guaranteed that both parents have legal recognition of their kid now are guaranteed that protection. So those families are going to be stronger, and they're going to have a much bigger financial impact because they're going to spend money, and they're going to probably support a lot of these businesses that have been such open supporters to achieve this equality.
And for conservatives who are supporters of the free market economy, isn't being inclusive good for business, where we see companies that are inclusive hire better people, retain better people, and states and localities that are inclusive tend to do better economically?
Absolutely. And we know that this is true not just among the big Fortune 500 companies that have implemented their inclusive policies, but even small businesses benefit when they support their LGBT employees and when they, support the LGBT community in general. Businesses get that support from the community, and it filters back.
Zack, is there an industry that is going to benefit the most, do you think, or the industries that will do better because of this?
I think the tourism industry is really the biggest. There's a lot of great tourist industries in, say, New Orleans, Louisiana, that couldn't benefit from marketing to same-sex couples to come celebrate their weddings there. And now they'll be able to have that extra hotel lodging and museums and bars and alcohol. It's going to be a very big difference for them.
Zack, let me ask you this. Judge Roberts, who dissented today, basically said this was headed this way in many of the states. Would you have rather seen this done on a state-by-state legislative issue? I certainly understand you don't legislate civil rights, but you think the country would be more accepting if it went that way and there was a little bit more time here?
I don't think we need any more time. We're actually overdue. If you look at the Loving case from the 60s that overturned the bans on interracial marriage, at the time that the Supreme Court ruled on that, only 19% of the country supported interracial marriage.